Right after World War II, Japan made this huge promise to its people, a promise to care for them, really from cradle to grave. And they built one of the most comprehensive social security systems in the world. It was a system that honestly helped fuel decades of incredible stability and growth. But today, that very promise is facing its biggest test yet. So let's dive into how this foundational system was built and why it's now at such a critical turning point. Here's the number that's right at the heart of the challenge. By 2025, and that's right around the corner, it's projected there will be only 2.1 working-age people in Japan for every single person over 65. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. A system that was built on the idea of many people contributing to support a few is quickly turning into a system where a few have to support the many. So you can see how this all leads to a couple of really big, fundamental questions that we're going to explore. First, how did Japan even manage to build this incredible safety net in the first place? And maybe more importantly, when you're facing a demographic shift this dramatic, can that promise actually last for the next generation? Okay, so first things first, let's get on the same page about what we even mean when we say social security in Japan. Because as you'll see, it's a concept that goes way, way beyond just a simple pension check. This right here is the core idea. It's actually written into Japan's post-war constitution. It's a guarantee from the state, a promise to maintain a minimum standard of living for all its people. It's a huge statement of national responsibility. So how does it all work? Well, you can think of the whole system as being built on four main pillars. The biggest one, the one everyone thinks about, is social insurance. That's your universal pensions and healthcare. Backing that up is social welfare, which gives services to children, the elderly, and people with disabilities. Then you've got public assistance for direct income support to those who really need it. And finally, public health, which is all about prevention and sanitation. Each one of these plays a really distinct and crucial role in keeping that national promise. The story of how this system came to be, well, it's really the story of post-war Japan itself. It's this incredible journey from total devastation to becoming a global economic powerhouse, and Social Security was right at the heart of that rise. And what's just incredible is how fast all of this happened. I mean, it started with just basic emergency relief in the ashes of the war. But by 1961, in what they actually call the memorable year, Japan achieved universal pension and health insurance for every single citizen. That's a monumental achievement. Things really peaked in 1973, the so-called first year of welfare, with super generous benefits, all fueled by a booming economy. But then, by the 1980s, that growth started to slow down. The first cracks started to show, and the long, ongoing process of reform began. And that, of course, brings us to today, where the system is being tested like never before. The main thing driving this pressure is one of the most rapid demographic shifts in all of human history. Just look at this chart. It shows you the scale of the problem so clearly. Back in 1995, you had about 4.4 workers supporting each elderly person. By 2025, that number is literally cut in half. The foundation of the system, a big base of workers, is shrinking, just as the number of retirees is skyrocketing. So here's the bottom line. The simple math that made this whole system work for 50 years is changing right before our eyes. It was built as a pay-as-you-go model. That just means the money that today's workers contribute is used to directly pay for today's retirees. With fewer workers and more retirees, well, you can see how that model is now under some serious strain. You see this little orange book? It's more than just paper. It's a symbol of that promise. Every single citizen has one. It represents their stake in the system, their contributions, and their future security. But even this tangible symbol of the system is running into some new problems. And that's because the whole thing is built on this really important idea, social solidarity, the belief that everyone chips in for the good of everyone else. So when you have a growing number of people who aren't making their required payments, it's not just a financial problem. It starts to weaken that collective trust. It undermines the very social contract that the promise was built on in the first place. But here's the thing. Japan isn't just sitting back and watching this happen. The country has been in a pretty constant state of reform for decades now, trying to adapt its 20th century promise to a 21st century reality. So let's take a look at how the system is being reimagined today. Okay, so today's pension system, it's easiest to think of it like a three-story building. The first floor, the foundation, is the basic national pension. Everybody gets that. If you're an employee, you get a second floor on top of that, which is related to your income. And this layered approach is a direct response to the challenges. By encouraging a third floor of optional private savings, the goal is to take some pressure off the main public system and give people more tools to secure their own retirement. So when you follow the money, where does it all go? Well, this chart is pretty eye-opening. Pensions and medical care, which are overwhelmingly for the older population, eat up more than 80% of the entire Social Security budget. It just goes to show you how deeply the system is shaped and strained by demographics. One of the smartest things they did was create a whole new insurance system back in 2000. They recognized that the really complex needs of long-term elder care were just overwhelming the regular health system. So this new program, funded by everybody over 40, professionalized caregiving. And that not only provides better care, but it also eases the huge burden that traditionally fell on families, and especially on women. It was a true social innovation. And this is where we get to the great irony in all of this. Japan's social security system has been, by so many measures, a massive success. It helped create one of the healthiest societies and the longest life expectancies on the entire planet. And yet, that very success is the source of its greatest challenge today. Which kind of leaves us with this one big lingering thought. Japan's system was built on a post-war spirit of shared purpose, of social solidarity. The question now, and it's not just for Japan, but for aging societies everywhere, is whether that spirit can be reinvented to meet the needs of a totally different future. Can the promise that was made to one generation be kept for the next?